I'm Mortika Lacrosse.
And I'm Vixen.
And this video, me and Vixen are going to discuss ghosts, spirits, and entities, if you will, and also our experiences with them, and also a way to get rid of any negative spirits and entities. But Vixen's going to talk first.
Hi everybody. So I'm going to start off with some of my experiences. Starting off with how I've actually seen the dead since I was 5. And my parents actually verified that what I was seeing was real. Because when I was a kid, my grandmother, she had passed away before I was born. And this grandmother had died a while back. So I guess she would be like my great-grandmother or something like that. And I described her to my parents, and when they moved in to the house that she used to live in, they had found an old picture of her, and she was just like I had described. And then there was a couple of other times, like when I was a kid, I had seen this thing that I called the Shadow Man. Or when I got older, my parents, they did something they really shouldn't have. They messed with a Ouija board. And because of that, they were irresponsible with that and didn't treat it for the tool that it actually was, and never closed the gate down that they opened when doing that, which left an opening. So when I moved into the apartment after they moved out, I had cats at the time, and they were hissing at my closet, and I never knew why. Turns out that the room I was staying in was the room they had done that in. And I woke up one morning with a bite mark on my back, and it was in a spot where there shouldn't be a bite mark, like where nobody should be able to be bitten because your spine curves in like that. But there was a bite mark, and I went to our local religious kind of spiritual shop here in town, and I showed her, and she sent me home with dragon's blood to get rid of it, because apparently this thing was more dangerous than is something normal, and you couldn't get rid of it with sage. So I had to burn that over quick light charcoal and walk around the house and get rid of all that negativity and that spirit and shut that portal down. While I was doing it, I also heard a Native American kind of chant plus drumming, which was really cool and really left the feeling of peace in the house. So I'm going to let Mordecai tell you his experience now.
So, growing up, I actually used to see spirits and entities all the time. But as I got older, as my parents told me that I wasn't seeing anything, that it was all in my head, I've kind of been closed off from it in a way, and it only comes and goes. But when I was younger, we lived in this house. And before it was a house, it was a bar. And after that, a whorehouse. And this was back in the early 1900s or something like that. And after that, it became a house, and there was this guy that lived there, a younger male, and lived with his mother and the rest of his family. And we were told by the local historian that what happened was one night he went crazy, and he killed his entire family with his gun, like a shotgun or something, I'm not quite sure. And after he killed his entire family, he shot himself on the porch and died. And before we moved in, there were many people that, even though there was nobody living there, swore that the lights would flip on and off. They would hear noises and other strange occurrences going on in this house. When we moved in, it got even more strange. we would hear people calling us to the basement, and me and my stepsister would think that it was our mother calling us, and we would go to the basement, and she would be like, I didn't call you. I've been here, sitting here listening to music while doing the laundry. And the same thing would happen, like a few nights after that, the same thing happened to my father. He thought he heard her calling him, and he comes down the stairs, and she wasn't even there. She had went to town to get groceries or something, and she was not even present. About a few months after we had moved in, I started sleepwalking. Before that, I had never sleptwalked before, and afterwards, after we moved out, I never sleptwalked. It was just in this particular house that I sleptwalked. And at one point, my stepmother was in the basement doing laundry, and I sleptwalked into the basement with a knife. And she kept on calling my name, and I did not answer at all. And she said that my eyes were quite strange. She did not explain it. Basically, it was as if I wasn't even there, and that something had taken control. There were occurrences where my stepmom and my dad would invite people over to watch scary movies, and basically any movie that was after PG-13, the VCR would, because this was back in the day when there were still VCRs, the VCR would just shut off, or it would go staticky, and they'd put in another tape, and that tape wasn't staticky. It was, and they would take it elsewhere out of the house to another person's house and put the VHS into another tape player, and it would play fine. Or they would be flipping through channels. You know, we had an antenna, and we put the antenna on the house, and they would switch to HBO, and something would come on that was explicit, and it would turn off. There were all kinds of strange occurrences there. Later on, when I got with Vixen, we were living outside of town in this house, and one night we came home and we heard this strange music coming from the house, and when we actually walked into the house, there was like kind of this mist, if you will, like kind of a very thick fog, and we had this feeling just to run the hell out of there. I mean, she could tell you a little bit more about that one.
Yeah, when we came home, okay, I didn't actually see like a lot of the fog, like it was like a little bit on the ground, but I was more kind of like focused on like the instruments. It was kind of like an orchestra, like an old-timey kind of like orchestra with a singer type of thing, but it was like unnatural. And then all of a sudden it just stopped. It was gone. It was like it never was there. And come to find out that the house we lived in, not that far away, there is an actual old fort. And they have that fenced off as a landmark from where we were. So we don't know if it was connected to the fort or what, but it was really, really fucking weird.
And the thing is at that particular property, that because we don't live there anymore, but Vixen's parents still own the property and still live out that ways. And a few times we've gone out there, we've seen other things and entities, if you will. We saw this, I'm not sure how to describe it or what to call it. It was like extreme. It was this extremely tall figure, if you will. But there was no possible way this figure could be human, because he was like tall all the way up to like the trees, I guess. I mean, Vixen saw
it was the fucking trees, dude. I freaked out. I was like flipping the hell out. I saw it more so than him. Like, I swore to up and down, like I thought it was a guy, but it wasn't. And it was really fucking weird, man. And then in the same house, like, well, not the same house, but like the same one like my parents live in, we were watching movies with my brother in a thunderstorm, and I swear up and down, like I saw a face in the window, and I freaked out. Like, you can ask Mortika, I would not leave his side that entire fucking night.
Now, so that's our particular experiences with it. Now, if you're trying to get rid of a negative spirit or a negative entity or even negative energy, smudging will usually work, but not in all cases. And smudging has been used for hundreds of years by different cultures, so, even more probably than 100 years. It's been used by Native Americans. Actually, the Catholic Church, surprisingly, actually uses incense as well. Ancient pagans and other ancient religions, the ancient Greeks as well, used incense to clear the space of negative energy, negative spirits, or negative entity. But there's also other ways if it's much more powerful. Vixen can tell you about that with the dragon's blood.
Actually, you can also try other things. And when he was saying smudging, most smudge sticks are made out of white sage. Some of them will be pine. White sage is the best. You can also plant or bury at the four corners of your house for protection amethyst crystals. You can burn bay leaves or use like a bay leaf water kind of mix. And if none of that works, then yes, do the dragon's blood like what I had described earlier with the quick light charcoal in a fireproof dish. And you put the dragon's blood on top of that and you let it smoke throughout. Walk through the house and with confidence. You cannot show fear. You have to be confident. You have to tell that negative entity that it has to leave. It cannot stay there. And it will have to go. If not, if that's not something that you're really into, you can always try whatever your religion teaches you for that kind of thing or so on and see if that works as well.
Now with certain entities, you don't want to at all, when you're trying to get rid of it, mention its name. And these are certain entities, and you can do a lot of research and find out which ones. There are certain entities that have no name, and certain psychics or clairvoyant mediums.
They're adamant about not using the name because you give it more power. You're summoning it at that point.
And so you want to refer to it as something else in order, or not to refer to it at all.
Don't give it a name. Most of the time, don't give it a name. Just say negative entity that's here or whatever and tell it to get out. Do not name it. You give it a name, you give it power.
Anyways, that's it of the video. We're going to try to do other videos about paranormal, the occult, stuff like that.
All kinds of different stuff along those lines.
In future videos. If you like this content, make sure you share, like, comment, and subscribe. We're going to upload it onto her channel as well as mine.
Alright, peace, love, and chicken grease.